Welcome to another episode of All Things Mindful. And in this podcast channel, we talk about ways on how we can create a life which feels as close to magical as possible. I'm still finding a new tagline for this podcast because that sounds just a tad cheesy, like I mentioned in my previous episode. But well, we'll make do with that tagline until I come up with a new tagline. Anyway, so today we are going to talk about how we can be more mindful and intentional with this new year, which has already passed. Now it's already 9 days into 2026. And I'm sure many of us are already familiar with scripting when it comes to manifestation or creating vision boards and tools like that. However, I want to create, or rather, I want to introduce a different way for us to feel more motivated about our goals in the coming new year, which is a little bit counterintuitive to what you have heard from other self-help experts. All right, so I'm going to introduce what I call your nightmare year method. And well, it doesn't sound very appealing. Some of you will be very repelled by the name of this method. Some of you will feel curious and intrigued. And just hear me out for a little bit, and I will share you what this entails. There are two steps to this method, what I call the your nightmare year method. So the first step, what we are going to do is to do a quick scan of the year 2025 of the previous year. What are the things that you do not want to repeat in 2026? Take note of these things. What are the things you do not want to repeat? What are the habits you do not want to continue? What are the other things that you just don't want to bring over to 2026? I'm sure there are many things that you can think of when I mention all these things. I'm sure you can at least think of 5 things that you do not want to bring over to 2026. And what we are going to do next is we are going to take a pen and paper or just open up your notes app and we are going to script what your nightmare year for 2026 will look like. I will share with you a personal example. In 2025, my immune system was not at its strongest. I fell sick quite often. I spent much of my days recovering and resting, and it did not feel good at all. I felt as though rather disempowered and helpless when it comes to my health, and I hate that feeling. Another thing that I do not want to repeat in 2026 is that I had a rather low income in 2025. I have another business where I create coaching tools for coaches, and because of AI and competitors and many other things, my income took a strong hit in 2025, and it made me feel kind of quite disempowered, helpless, all those things which we do not want to feel, which do not feel good at all. I am determined not to bring the same income from 2025 to 2026. That's another thing. Another thing which I do not want to repeat in 2026 is to let my fears make my decisions for me. In 2025, I do let my fears make my decisions for me, so that made me feel stagnant, made me feel bored. I mean, I was being careful, I was avoiding risks, but I did not feel excitement. I did not feel as if I thrived a lot because of letting fear make my decisions. I did not grow or enjoy my life as much when I let fear make my decisions for me. So that is one thing I do not want to repeat in 2026. So what we are going to do now that we have noted the few things that we do not want to repeat, we are going to script out our nightmare 2026. So, for example, you can just write that in 2026, I do not want to spend days lying down on my sofa, recovering, or feeling low on energy. I also do not want to have the same kind of income in 2025 for this year, 2026. At the same time, I do not want to let fear make my decisions for me in 2026 and make me feel disempowered and helpless in my life. I am also done with feeling disempowered and helpless in my business, and I want to feel more empowered, more inspired, and more motivated and more in control of my business. I do not want to feel as though I am stagnant in 2026. I do not want to feel bored anymore. I also do not want to continue feelings of stillness, of not growing. I do not want to feel stagnant. That's the word that keeps coming up in my head. I do not want to feel stagnant in 2026 and feel as though my year is just going to rush by me with nothing memorable, nothing of note. That is what I do not want my 2026 to look like. So that is a short example of what your nightmare script can seem like. So when you write this script, no matter how long or how short it is, what it can make you feel is that it can make you feel very driven and motivated, and it lights some kind of fire within you to make sure that you do not repeat those horrible feelings in the new year. At least for me, it feels that way. I feel very determined to try all sorts of methods and all sorts of things to make sure I do not repeat those horrible, depressed like feelings, stagnation, boredom, fear again. I do not want to feel that again. And I felt a sense of motivation and inspiration to do what I can and to take control of my life. That's the word. It makes me feel as though I'm more in control of my life when I do this scripting exercise. And it works differently for some people. Some of you may feel the same way as I do. Some of you may feel very uncomfortable with this exercise. So it depends on your temperament, it depends on your preference, and it depends on how you work. And I'm curious to know whether this method is something which works for you or is it something which you are against personally. All right, so let me know if you are going to try this method or if it works for you or if it resonates with you or not, because this method is like a double-edged sword. Some people will like it, some people will not like it. But if you do it the wrong, the quote unquote wrong way, you're going to not get any benefit out of it. So I'm curious. All right. So just let me know whether this method, what I call your nightmare year method, resonates with you or not. And I will see you in my next episode. Goodbye.